Oh my!
What are you doing?
Welcome back to the First, the Last, the Nerdom, the podcast where we dive into the first, the last, and everything in between across the vast landscape of nerd and cult cinema. This week we continue Found Footage Month, but we're leaving behind the haunted houses and cursed tapes for something far more unsettling and uncomfortably real. We're talking about the 1992 Belgian black comedy Man Bites Dog. This is the kind of film that doesn't just blur the line between horror and humor, it bulldozes it. Presented as a mockumentary, Man Bites Dog follows a film crew shadowing a charming, talkative serial killer as he philosophizes about art, society, and murder. All of the while, the camera keeps rolling. What begins as a detached documentary quickly devolves into simplicity as the filmmakers stop being observers and start becoming participants in the chaos. It's raw, it's biting, and it's disturbing as it is darkly hilarious. Man Bites Dog is both a satire of media violence and a mirror held up to our own obsession with watching it. The laughter sticks in your throat, the horror feels all too real, and by the end, you're left wondering who the real monsters are, the killer or the one behind the camera. So grab your microphone, steady your lens, and ask yourself at what point does documenting horror becomes part of the act? This is the First, the Last Nerdom, and tonight we're exploring the darkly comic descent into madness and moral decay that is Man Bites Dog. And I'm one of your hosts, Tom, and I'm here with Mike. How you doing?
I am good. Man Bites Dog. Yeah, we're gonna get into it here. But first, we're gonna pay the bills real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I will for our home base on the internet, which is our website. First, I was gonna do the X one, right? Anyway, FirstLastNerdom.com. One day I'll get that right. Has a rolling carousel of our last 10 hits on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, that's our homepage, fresh and center. And I'm going to hand it back off to Tom here. But real quick, Tom had a very good short that is popping, which is awesome. We also have our other latest and greatest things here. We're plugging along here. I think we're getting back up to our solid good numbers, especially with your thing. And I believe that you also brought in, because of that short, and we get them all the time, and we lose them all the time too. Some subscribers. So I'm going to hand that off to Tom, because he is the chief technology officer for Reddit for the FirstLastNerdom Corporation. How you doing, Tom?
I'm good. Yeah, I had some success with my Space Ghost short. That was fun to do. After I finished it, I forgot that I had left on my fan, and I was going to go back and delete it and re-recorded it, and it already had close to 2,000 views. So I was like, okay, I might as well just leave it though.
Absolutely.
I guess it didn't bother people too much. So if you were bothered by the fan, oopsie on my part. But yeah, I promote her stuff on a couple of websites. I try to do it on Reddit whenever they don't delete my post. They
assholes.
Yeah, Tubi deleted my Erie, Indiana post and then put it back up. So both it and my previous week's one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fucking
yeah.
why?
So,
but anyway.
Absolutely, but yeah, they so yeah, we used to get love from Tubi, but yeah, on the Reddit anyway, but yeah, it's kind of hit and miss now. But I'll still try to find Reddit places that will still have us. But yeah, I'm also on I'm on Reddit under FirstLastNerdom, also on X under FirstLastNerdom. FirstLastNerdom. I just celebrated my 13 years of being on the X platform, whatever that means. But yeah, I guess yeah, I post like our current videos and anything that I'm kind of interested currently. I recently picked up the Joe Hill new novel, King Sorrow. It's signed. They have signed copies at Barnes and Nobles. I'm always there to promote places that aren't Amazon. So yeah, I think the last time I checked, Barnes and Noble still had on their website some signed copies. So if you are interested, it's a little bit more than the regular copy, but hey, you get a Joe Hill signature, so can't go wrong there. The only thing is, they put on a stupid sticker on the cover saying signed copy.
Oh,
That I
that's
don't like stickers, so I tried taking it off, but it has like it's super sticky, so it left a sticky residue. So that's that sucks. But
some
get better on that, Barnes and Nobles. But
some stickers are not metal. So that's not very metal of you, Barnes and Noble, with your shenanigans.
yeah. My previous one, I got a signed copy of the one of the Slough House books from Mick Herron, and that one came right off. So I don't know. I guess it's probably has to do with the publisher, or I have no idea. But enough of that. Mike, you have some
I do.
socials as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir. I too am on X, 8bit, 8bit underscore Inc. I experiment with this social media thing between privacy and public. Lockdown right now, so unless you follow me or I follow you, you're not going to see me, but that's okay. Tom can see me, and that's all that matters. All joking aside, also have a long form website, ApeIt.Ink, and you can go check me out there. But this week we're going into the this black and white Belgian mockumentary, dark comedy for sure, horror for sure. The multi things. You could even argue that it's found footage, which is why we're covering it. And I think that we would both be square in the opinion of the camp that this could be, arguably. And see, the thing is with found footage is it's supposed to look like it's, kind of like somebody picked it up and like kind of published it. You could drop this film if it had been made in the found footage era, anytime after Blair Witch. I'm sure the finer found footage nerds will take issue with this, and I would love to hear your correction in the comment section below. But if you drop this film into that genre nowadays, people would accept it, no problem. I don't think they would. And matter of fact, it would probably actually fit in even better than the era that it was actually released in, which is 1992. So this one, light budget, right?
Oh yeah, this is pretty much a student film, pretty
Right.
much.
Yeah. So
Yeah, very low budget. Yeah.
yeah, and I'll let you take over from there. But yeah, found Man Bites Dog. I'd never heard this one before. Before you had brought it to my attention. But where do you come in with this? Because we typically like to break into the history, because usually you or I have some kind of connective tissue with that. But I'll let you take it back.
Yeah, it was one of those movies. I obviously didn't see it in the theater. It didn't have like a huge release in '92, obviously, but yeah, it had a bit of a buzz. Forget how the buzz worked back then, because before really the internet, '92. But yeah, it was one of those movies I knew I needed to see because I'd read about it, and yeah, I saw it on I rented it when it came out on videotape, and it was one of those. Yeah, it's almost one of those movies. It's kind of black and white, kind of dirty. There's hiss during the movie. It's not the best audio quality. You don't expect a 4K of this thing coming out. It's just down and dirty. It's almost better watching it on a grimy videotape. It's got that found footage kind of feel to it. And but yeah, it's one of those films. I know I was reading about it. It premiered, I think, in Cannes. But I know that both Steve Buscemi and Quentin Tarantino went to see the premiere of it, and was both of them fell in love with that movie, and Quentin Tarantino got in a fight with a security guard trying to get back into it for the second screening. I guess you are only allowed in once to see it, and he got in a fight with a security guard, which kind of makes sense for this movie. Yeah, he
Right.
got in a fight to see this movie, but yeah, it's one of those. I saw it. It was very shocking when I first saw it in '92. There was nothing like this. Found footage wasn't even a thing. It just felt like that one of those movies where you knew you were seeing something that you probably shouldn't be watching, but can't turn away. And we've seen more extreme things since then. So going back to it, it didn't quite have the same punch to the gut that it had, but it does have more of an introspective look to it. It makes you think a little bit more. There's so many layers of the first layer of violence when I first saw it was what kind of blasted at me at the beginning, but now you kind of look at it and kind of dig a little bit deeper to the deeper meanings of this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say before we get too crazy into it, I was gonna set the table. This is the Benoît Poelvoorde. That's his real name. He plays the character Ben, or same naming character. Fun fact: I believe what I read was his parents are actually his real parents when they do the film, and they thought that they were actually doing like, so their understanding of it was like something like they're doing a biography on their son.
Yeah.
And why they were.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to the thing,
Hmm.
we follow this charismatic and articulate serial killer, and he's documented by this film crew led by Rémy and André, and who's Andre's the sound guy, right? And Rémy,
Hmm.
because he's always talking to Rémy, like the cameraman or whatever, like when they're going through. So
Hmm.
like they're following him, and then it kind of goes from there. And I'll let you. But what was your, so did you see this originally in the '90s, or did you see it years
Hmm.
later? Okay, so you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when it first came out, there was a buzz about it, and
Right,
because of Quentin Tarantino and all that stuff. So yeah, it was one of those movies that you knew. It was like I was like huge into horror, and then with Quentin Tarantino stuff, I started branching out into more
right,
independent stuff, and this was sort of like a bridge between the two. It was a little bit of horror, but it was a little bit of that independent movie scene at that time,
right.
and I was into both. Maybe I read about it in the Film Threat magazine. I was collecting that at times. Feels like a movie perfect for that. Now they have a website, but and a YouTube channel, but with Chris Gore. But seems like right up Chris Gore's alley for a movie. So I'm sure I've read about it, or I should have read about it in a Film Threat magazine at the time. But yeah, it was one of those movies that just you kind of lock in, and if kind of things. But yeah, it was directed by all three of the guys, including, I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't, it was one of those movies. Yeah, back in the day, after you watched a movie, you couldn't really jump online to read about all
No.
the fun facts about it. So I didn't realize that. Yeah, the directors were actually the people on screen. Very low budget. I didn't really realize at the time how low budget it was. But yeah, took them I read where it took them about a year to make because they had to stop and start. So there's some interviews with the with the director in the movie about the struggles of making the movie, which may have been more true to life than uh, than what you thought were just the cinematic beats of the movie. No, I'm sure no one died during the making of it, but which is sort of the fun of the movie. The sound guy keeps getting shot. It's one
Yeah.
of the fun beats of the movie.
Well, the thing, it's so funny because he is charismatic, and and that's just kind of, that's not really getting into what the film, but it's by, it's what do they say, what's the saying, you if you boil a frog or whatever, it boils or something, like along those lines. That's essentially what we're seeing. We're seeing this story unfold, and we're seeing Rémy and André, these people get closer and closer and closer to the subject, and then nobody really explains anything. It's just kind of like Benoît is there, and Ben, they call him Ben. He's just kind of there, and then he just kind of takes up with them, and they kind of just keep following him, and he's not bashful. like like you see this thing, and the first time you see it, you're kind of like, you don't quite know, how, and then it very definitely sets the tone. When you accept what you just saw is supposed to, be this shocking kind of thing. And I got to tell you that it may have been student budget level quality for resources or whatever, but also it was all very creative. And the quality, though, for me was there. I really enjoyed this. I have no connective tissue with this when it originally came out. This is the first time I heard about it.
Yeah, you kind of had to be in the know to know about it, to see it. And you're a little bit younger than I was at the time it came out, so probably wasn't in your scorecard of things to check out. But yeah, it's definitely a movie that even today kind of grabs you by the throat. It kind of jumps into it. We sort of have a theme within a theme. This month is found footage, which this movie kind of fits into. But we also do a show called Binge Worthy, where we talk about TV shows that both of us like, that we think are binge worthy, and we bring it to the table. And that one's about the serial killer Hannibal, and then this one's about the serial killer that we follow with the documentary team. So I thought it was a nice pairing. So as in food. So if you want to bon appetit, if you want to enjoy both of these, but yeah. But this is kind of a different serial killer than Hannibal. He's more of a pragmatic serial killer. He's not one that kind of kills for pleasure. It's more of a job to him.
Yeah,
and even at the beginning, you start in with him talking about weighting down corpses, after he kills them, and how to get rid of them. And it's just sort of matter of fact, and kind of with no emotion or anything. It's just, this is what you do. It's sort of like on the job training.
and he dishes it out. He gives it like he gives it like he's giving a park tour. Like he's
very
just
enthusiastic, very enthusiastic about it.
Yeah, no, he's very good. So you accept that. So you take this, because he does have this kind of center of gravity around him, charisma, whatever you want to call it, that permeates him, and the way he also never stops talking.
And he has an opinion about everything.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yeah, he's kind of like this everyman kind of killer. Like he has he just, they don't explicitly say this or talk about it, but just the way that it unfolds, because it is in that concept lens or layer of a documentary, of like documenting what's going on. You just kind of you just go with it. Like,
yes,
like he's not quite the highest rung serial killer, but he's probably a lower tier, but he's made his bones, and he knows this world that's around him, that it just, you become, the more you see it, even though you see these horrific things happen, unfold, some worse than others, you just can't help but be entertained, and you want to know more.
right.
It just pulls you in. The more bizarre, it's so funny how that works.
Yeah, and the fact that this film crew just following him, and they that you kind of jump in like maybe midway through the documentary, because there's already a comfortableness between him and the filmmakers. They're already sort of seem to know each other. So we don't get to see like how they meet. They're just already filming, so we're kind of jump into it, and there's like that immediacy of this is going on, and so you know, initially you assume that the filmmakers were kind of aghast at what he's doing, but by the time that we kind of step into the scene and start seeing the footage, they're already comfortable with him. They're not shocked anymore. They're just kind of rolling with the punches, and it's just like every day to them as well as the killer. So, in the
Right.
sense, we kind of pick up on that and just kind of go with it as well. So we're already complicit with with everybody with what's going on, and so that
When
all
you
the
say that.
violence, yeah, the violence, there's like this even tone to it. There's like not like you know, you may be kind of shocked at what's on the screen, but you're not shocked. You know, it's just part of the landscape. There's a very interesting vignette in there where he's talking. The serial killer Ben is talking about the plight of this you know, economic housing, you know, the cheap housing where the old people are staying, and
Oh yeah,
just
civic
talking
planning with
yeah,
Benoît.
yeah, yeah, exactly. He's just kind of going over it, and you know, very passionate about it, and then
Public
and
administration.
with that, which transitions to him going to an older lady's house and her apartment, and getting himself in under the false impression that they're just interviewing old people about loneliness, and he ends up startling her because he noticed she has heart medication, startling her into dying, and you know, robbing her money out from under her bed. But this is all under the same tone. It's almost the same tone as his lecture on housing, and
Just
then
nonchalant. Just what
but
one
yeah,
second they're street level, the next second they're up in this, you know, high rise, you know, and then, you know, just like you say, yeah, it just you
yeah,
are
yeah,
you
and
go with it.
there, yeah, absolutely, and he's the emotion of that is not that he's killed this woman. It's the fact that he's, oh, well, this is where you find the money, and he gets all excited about where the money is, and so you're going along with his glee, and then he's so euphoric after that thing because it played out exactly how he wanted, and he got the money. He's kind of flush with cash. He wants to go out and celebrate, and there's that awkward scene at the end there where the killing of the woman should have been awkward. The awkwardness is in the aftermath when they realize that the couple of the guys have plans and they can't like go out and celebrate with the killer, and there's that social awkwardness that you get within that, and you know, he kind of goes, oh yeah, no problem, and he just kind of walks off, and then they feel so bad for the killer. they they decide, okay, yeah, well, let's cancel our plans and celebrate with him, and there's a whole thing with that, but that's where the emotion is in that, you know, the awkward social cues of not wanting to disappoint a friend. That's where the major emotional heartbeats, you know, are where where the story is. It's not the fact that they killed this old lady, and there's
No,
no remorse, there's nothing.
well, it's so funny because there on one side there's absolute transparency of what's going on, right? And sometimes they touch on it, talk about it a little bit. Um, it just nonchalantly, but at other times there is deceit layered in this with this guy. You know, anyway, it's just very interesting because I was just gonna go back into the what you were saying. You're right about the you're the it's funny because it's also an indictment. You're right. You're the audience. This is one of those things too. And Art to Clown, the that series does very very well. The it and what it did also very well last week too with what we covered too for the main event. Those each one of those short stories that led up to, you know, kind
VHS,
of
yeah.
that anthology, that narrative, it it makes you, or I mean it's also judging you to a certain degree as well. Like the longer this goes
Yeah,
on, you know, it is
yeah,
and it's just kind of like this, and you can't help it because it's like watching it. You can't not watch a car crash if it happens right in front of your face, you know, and it's just there.
Mm-hmm.
This, but this happening like like I said, it just
Mm-hmm.
pulls you in more and more and more.
Yeah, you can't. You this is the interesting thing. Yeah, it was very informative about the audience back in the day, but it hasn't changed. I mean, it you could do this film today with an IRL streamer, have an IRL streamer, do have a mockumentary that today with IRL streamer that goes around killing people,
Right.
and the fact that if they could get away with it, the audience would watch it, and
Oh,
how much the audience would be complicit, there's like all sorts of horrible things that happen on IRL streaming that people just kind of roll with the punches. There's people that go live on Facebook, and I don't know if they've kind of clamped down on it, but there's all these things where people have done horrific things streaming on Facebook, and
right.
you have hundreds of people that watch, and only one person calls into the cops, if that. There's that ferociousness of the audience that hungers for this stuff, that um yeah, there's like that there's those even now there's like that satanic cult, the 764, I think it is,
Mm,
that are getting, they're finally cracking down and arresting those people, but they have those private Discord servers where they live stream horrible, horrendous things, that so yeah, there is that element to it that makes it even more real, but yeah, so so they were tapping into that hunger for this stuff even back then, so it's very prescient for even today.
no, well, there's just countless times where you had bum fights, you had, the faces of
Hmm.
death, all these things that are horrific that we grew up with that were in our generation, and
Hmm.
permutations of them. But the other thing
Yep.
too, it just dawned on me, when Benoit, when you're introduced to him, he kind of has like, he kind of takes people, and he is, I don't know, I always mix these up, but sociopath or a psychopath or
Yeah,
whatever, like,
sociopath. Yeah.
yeah, or mixed or whatever, but like he has this way
Hmm.
with people, like where he'll befriend you, but he's not really your friend. He's just, you're kind of part of his orbit, I guess, for a
Right.
purpose.
He
And
uses you, but
right,
he makes you feel like you're his friend, that you're
right.
you're doing him a you're he's doing you a solid,
And,
whereas you're actually doing him a solid.
just like, it's so funny. It's just like, it's almost like the film crew is also like, everyone that's around Benoit is a potential victim. It's just a matter of
Hmm.
time, essentially. Like
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting to. But the
Yeah.
way that the film starts, the way that the you're introduced to this thing, every scene, of something shocking or brutal or matter of fact or whatever, and
Hmm.
there's just no reaction there's no standard reaction that you would anticipate. I mean, there is from the victims that are about ready to get,
Hmm.
hit,
Yeah.
or dispatched. We'll
Hmm.
call it that way because we're live
Hmm.
on the thing. But
Hmm.
they do that slowly, and they do it slowly enough to keep the pushing the boundaries just a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. That's kind of the same thing of how he operates. He brings you in. He kind of sees like where the thing is. He kind of gets you to be. It's just very interesting, from that standpoint. And you get to it, like you get down to you. Eventually, you do scrape bedrock.
Hmm.
I mean, there's only
Yeah.
so many things as far as Benoit goes, because he's a creep. He's a lot of many things, but even he doesn't have very many lines. But well, I'll just kind of leave it out there because we might have to ease up on that one as we mosey our way through, because there's a lot here to talk
Uh,
about. Like,
yeah, he's well, and he gives a sense of safety. Is like, I've been through this before. It's like a job to him.
one permission, right?
He there. Yeah, exactly. He he has these rules, and you you have the sense about him that he's steering the ship, that he has it under control, that there's a sense of safety. There's a distance between the violence. He's just showing you what he does, but there's a layer between him, and the victims. Whereas there's not really a line there. There's not that separation. The crew is just as much in danger and active participant as he is, but
Right.
they there's that sense of safety though, because he seems to know what he's doing.
Well, he's given
What really
permission.
does he? Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
he's acting as like an authority is
Yeah,
what he's
authority
doing.
figure on this stuff. Yeah.
Right. So so they're out in the middle of, like you said, like one scene they're on the ground level talking, and he manipulates people, but he does have I don't know. It's just very interesting. He is a human of some kind,
Yeah.
and we see that, but not for the things that, I mean. It's just kind of funny how we kind of check in with his parents. I mean, it just makes the whole thing bizarre.
Right. There's this charm about him. You can't help but kind of like the guy, but we find out, he's a racist. He kills children, the elderly. He kills just about. But there's he doesn't like killing kids. That's not his preferred thing. But if
Right.
he needs to, he does. He does. There's a you know. The film crew kind of eggs him on and say, why don't you kill the rich? Why don't you kill a suburban? You're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel so that you don't get noticed. Why aren't you? And so he feels a little bit, that his honor has been tarnished, that he has to prove himself, and so he kind of shows them what it's like to kill a family, and that's very very hardcore, but throughout the whole thing. But yeah, there's a sense of, he's just going, look what you hadn't made me do. Look, I'm having to chase this kid to kill him. Look what, you shined the light in my eyes, I couldn't see. So you screwed it up. He's still pissed through the whole thing. He's just wanted to prove to the film crew that, there's no point in killing this, but he does it anyway. And there's like that just sort of sense of, wow, this is the guy. And but through the whole thing, you're still with the you're still kind of interested in what's going on. And it's kind of fascinating how far that they could push you into
Right.
still going along with this film crew and him. And there is a sense of charm to it. This is a bit more raw and in your face, but you can see where this movie kind of inspired what we do in the shadows. This is very much a kind of a handing the baton off. This movie, I feel, has been very influential with different filmmakers. I can't help but think, the structure of a film crew following things, it had to inspire in some degree The Office. I mean, there's the odd kind of crazy thing of a just random film crew filming something that, they really, why are they filming this? There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of reality within Men Bites Dog, but the more you think about it, you're like, how does this work? How would where would this film crew think to premiere this? What would what's the logistics of this? And but it's one of those movies that makes you kind of push that aside to follow along with what's going on with the movie. Much like The Office, who follows a group of people in an office for 7 seasons, 8 years. What's the end goal? But yeah, there's
Right.
that sense. So I think it kind of inspired those, and it inspired what we do in the shadows. This whole kind of mockumentary thing. Obviously, Man Bites Dog isn't the first one to do this. There's other mockumentaries. Famously there's Spinal Tap, but which would you consider that a found footage movie as well? It's very interesting. The where you would push, how far you want to
I
push
mean,
the found footage as a genre.
I mean,
Obviously,
it's kind of implied that a found footage film has something to do with horror, or something along the. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be true. I suppose you could stretch the definition maybe a little bit and say Spinal Tap.
yeah,
But I agree with you. Like in what you said earlier, it sets the time period that it was in. What was right? That was when reality TV, that was big. When
hmm
true crime started to kind of take off. All these kind of other things like that, things on the edge that were just off, because this was off on the edge anyway. But it was prescient. You're right.
Yeah,
Like
the whole thing with the shaky cam, with people
right.
like, oh, I don't like shaky cams. Yeah, so
They mimicked and they mirrored exactly what a documentary would be. Like what a documentary small staff would be worried about. They would be worried about sound levels and equipment, and so like when they flash that to you, it adds to the authenticity of what you're seeing, even though it's a mockumentary. And I would further add to kind of throw one out there that's kind of a different one, like The Office. Like that's the same.
no, that's what I said. Yeah, The Office. Yeah,
Right. I mean, well, that
yeah,
and
yeah.
obviously where it
Parks and
came
Rec.
from.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
The originators of the BBC, definitely. Numerous ones it takes that tone, that layer, but
Yeah,
it does take
yeah.
it, and it's full frontal for just about everything.
Yeah.
And I did not know this, but I had read that there was a controversy because some kind of version of this was cut, and it shouldn't have been, and it really bothered fans, or it bothered the originalists of the thing. Now the one I saw was not cut. It was thankfully it was on. I think I watched it on HBO on Max, but
Yep,
it's not cut.
that's where I watched it. Yeah,
It
I'm
showed
a
everything.
physical meat. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no punches pulled there. But yeah, I'm the physical media guy, but I do have it on DVD. It's in my storage unit, so I don't have it handy with me.
Right.
There is a Blu-ray of it. There's not a 4K, which I don't know if if there's a need for 4K on this. There, I think even Blu-ray may be pushing it as far as getting the best quality. This movie, like I said, it's one of those movies, much like say I don't know, probably like the first 28 days later. It's not filmed with the highest of resolution, so I don't know if if you get much more bang for the buck with a 4K. But yeah, I thought about getting the Blu-ray for it, but I'm holding out. Hopefully, because I know Criterion did a DVD of it. I'm hoping that maybe they'll revisit this movie and put out a nice Blu-ray of it. But yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a physical copy to show off, but yeah, it's one of those I don't mind having in my library of films. But yeah, it's yeah, and there is some very dark stuff in this movie. It's not one of those that you want to show on a on a family gathering. It's not one of those
No.
that you pull out at Thanksgiving after you've had a meal.
No. It's kind of hard because too this has gates, or it could have gates, like where if you stop now but the problem with that though is that if you stop anywhere early on or even later on to the story, you kind of miss out on the the full flavor of it. Like
Right.
it was brutal, I guess, and shocking, but it also kind of had this very campy
Right. Yeah.
kind of manufactured kind of thing, like where and then they weren't poorly done, they were done very well. It just kind of gave you this thing of like I don't know how to just put it in words. I'll have to think about it, but
Right. The comedic beats of it are have a
they're
punch
funny.
to it
It's funny.
as yeah, absolutely, as which kind of contrasts that there's I've always said this with the humor and horror, they're very similar in that it's all in the timing and how far you could push things, and this movie knows how where those beats are, how far to push, and how and how to temper it so that it's not too much to take. There's not any point where I wanted to slam off the TV because it was going too far. But it goes to places where it could have been, with a different tone and how they did it, it would have been going too far. But it's very interesting how they made it palatable to kind of get through those things. But yeah, in like with the humor, you can see where it led into like The Office, like whatever. There's like a running gag where the sound man keeps getting killed, getting shot and killed,
Right.
and he has to, and the director has to do this kind of very somber thing to the camera, saying, "Oh, we're gonna miss Andre and blah blah blah," and shout out to his kid. We're doing it in the honor of his kid, and not too long later, the same thing happens, and
Big
it's
ups.
almost the exact same speech. Yeah, exactly. So there's like that humorous punch there, and then it's contrasted. Even there's like a scene where I guess he's, even though he's a serial killer, he's mixed up with the Italian mob and their hitmen. And there's a scene where he's kind of chasing this hitman, and he loses his little his communion ring or whatever, or ID thing,
Oh,
and
right. Yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
they're they're looking
His
through
first
this
communion.
whole
Yeah.
yeah, his first communion ring, and and he loses it in the chase, and they stop this high pressure chase with this other killer to try to find his first communion jewelry. This this mundane thing within this violence that very interesting. And but yeah, it's one of those movies, and it also, a lot of times with a mockumentary, it just kind of ends. There's not like a really good punch to the ending. This movie does have its beats. There's like a beginning, middle, and end to this movie. There is a definite end. We won't spoil how it ends, but it definitely ends, and it has a as big of a punch for the ending as it does throughout the movie. So it's kind of a satisfying movie. A lot of times with the mockumentary, you're just enjoying the experience, and there's not like a full storyline that kind of gets played out. But there's like a storyline kind of buried into this that pays off at the end. I believe.
It does. It does. It is. It's so funny too because you got was making fun of him. Public policy Benoît. Versus he does care in his own way. I mean,
Yeah,
you kind of get
yeah.
the sense of none of these people are.
But don't push him. Don't push him. There's like this family. He comes home from being in the hospital, and this guy is kind of pushing him, and yeah, it
Oh,
doesn't
right.
doesn't pay off for the guy. It doesn't pay
No,
off.
no, he. Yeah, you kind of get the impression that his friends aren't the best. I mean, it is what like yeah, yeah.
Right. Well, he has this a sense of being friendly and being your friend, but if you push him, you forget that he's a killer, and yeah, if you push him a little too far, his true colors come out. He has very sociable, but he's like you said, a sociopath, so that he knows how to play you, but he's not playing on the same level ground as you. He has no
He
umbrage about pulling out a gun and just blasting you in the face if
just
he needs to,
yeah, just it's
or if
kind
he
of like the
wants to.
yeah. There's this kind of this meme, I guess, like where if you can fit in anywhere if you put on some high vis vest, and just go about your thing. You're carrying, if you have a tool belt on, or if you have like a clipboard, that's what it is. Like
Hmm.
for that, you kind of treat that person like they know what they're doing, or they have a plan, or they're going on with a purpose. And this is guy from start to finish. This guy walks around, except for that. You're right. The very end, except for the very end. I'm not going to give anything away. Except for the end, he walks around like you don't have a plan. He has a plan.
Hmm.
he
Right.
knows
Yeah.
he knows what he's going to be doing in the next two or three things ahead. And we're kind of following, and it also kind of blurs that line between observant and participant.
Yep.
And this solidly goes on one side, obviously after this goes on for a while. It also is kind of a reflection on many things, but it's just so funny because he's kind of irascible, I guess. He's no hero at all, and he's not even an anti-hero either. He's definitely not a good cookie, but you're presented him in this very nuanced, in the moment, way, to like where he holds court. And when he's holding court, you're enthralled essentially, and so are the cameramen. So are Rémy and André, and the other people around him too. That have nothing to do with the thing. They're just there, or they're at Valerie's place, or they're at so and so's, or whatever, or they're meeting up for the first time, like where he. There's a lot of action also that's implied off screen too, where we kind of pick up and drop. It's just very interesting. It's very good, very well done.
And it kind of pushes you. You're the silent observer as well. And I talked about this on our discussion with the VHS, where this found footage movies really kind of pushes you in and makes you feel like a participant, since you're essentially one of the actors. Looking in through the lens of the camera, you are in the thing, and it kind of makes you question, well, if I was in that situation, how far would I go? And there's probably drop offs of it's kind of interesting to kind of look at it. There's definitely places where hey, this has gone too far. But if I was in that situation, what would I do? This movie obviously was way before Blair Witch, before found footage was a concept. So this was always like a black, dark black comedy, mockumentary in my mind. But then when I was kind of looking at found footage films that we could cover, this one popped up, and I was like, this does fits in the requirements for a found footage. It's interesting how your perception of a movie can change, and these concepts can change, where it falls into a different category now that really didn't exist at the time that it was made. It was definitely made before its time. It's one of those. And unfortunately, I was looking at a lot of times when we revisit these movies that I love from years ago. I didn't follow these creators, and a lot of times when I go back to their filmography, there's maybe another movie or two that I didn't know they made, or that I had seen after that, or things that I want to see now that kind of went below my radar, didn't realize that they had made. But I was looking at the other guys, and there really isn't much. There's like a 2021 movie that I think André directed that had Ben and Rémy in it. But Ben, he's done quite a few acting jobs, but the other guys really doesn't have much on their resume on IMDb, which is a shame, because you would have loved to have seen, maybe not a a sequel to this. I don't know if they could do a sequel, but maybe a different type of mockumentary. It would have been interesting. Obviously they're still around, so that they can still do that. But it would be very fascinating for them to see something else that they could do on the table. But there's a lot under his and he hasn't changed too much in his looks, but
no. No, well, he has a very he's a natural, you can tell he's a natural actor, for sure.
Absolutely. And that's why they had him star in it. But but there's like I said, there's one movie by André that has them all in it, but outside that, I didn't really see anything that they've done. But a lot there's different filmmakers where there's only one movie, or one notable movie that they've done, and if this was going to be their legacy, that's a pretty darn good legacy. Gotta say. But it's one of those movies that it's several decades later, it still holds a punch. Some movies age badly, but I don't think this has. There's I don't know if we're able to make the drink, but if we're ever drinking on camera, we may have to. What was it called? A dead baby boy and a.
Oh yeah. They kept saying that. No, Tom, you're gonna get a dead baby boy for. For I was like, I kind of. I kind of lost the plot on that. I just thought they were goofing around, but that makes sense now in retrospect that they were in the bar, or
Yeah,
okay, because I was like,
yeah,
what
it's
the the only issue with this is, he never shuts the fuck up,
mhm,
and that's a good thing, because of the way the thing. But they do the dubbing, so you English speaker are tied. You're glued. Your fucking head is glued to the bottom of the screen. So I would have to kind of go back once in a while to like kind of get the gist of the scene to reset, because it's like, whoa, because when this stuff when something does happen on screen, this isn't giving anything away, it piles up pretty quick. And it's like, whoa, wait, how the fuck did we get, like I said, was saying before, you go from like, oh yeah, you're just sitting there on the what was that, the you're sitting there on the riverbank or whatever the hell, talking about bodies and ballast and all this, and then the next thing you know, you're like, boom, you're like up in the old lady's apartment, like fucking killing her. So it does pin you down. Should you not be I think they speak French, Belgian French. It sounded like to me, but
yeah, they're Belgian. I didn't realize. I always thought it was a French movie, but they're Belgian.
well,
But
that's
it's
why.
French speaking Belgian. Yeah,
Right,
so
right. European for
they're
sure.
speaking
Yeah,
French. Yeah,
yeah.
yep.
Well, which is your, because I thought the same thing too until I was like, oh yeah, it wasn't. It was just there's the language that there. Anyway, it didn't matter,
Yeah,
but it
yeah,
doesn't really matter. You kind of just
yeah.
go in and you you see this guy, and he's unhinged, but he's put together, but he's also
Mhm.
unhinged. I mean, in this, just like I said, he's psychopathic. Pathological, or psychopath. Yeah, that's it. Or
Yeah,
sociopath. That's the other one.
yeah, yeah, and and you do see moments where he has concern for like the crew. He's go, hey, I want to make sure you make this movie. So if you need money, I can help you out. So you think it maybe okay, maybe he's a good guy, but no, that in the back of his mind, he's like, oh, but I'm getting off on being filmed. This if they don't have money, if they can't make this movie, they can't continue filming me and make me feel better about what I'm doing and make me feel like a rock star because I'm the top of the world because you're filming me. So there's always an ulterior motive for what he does and how he does it. Also, you've been kind of scrolling through these movie
Photos.
posters.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
there's a bit of controversy because there's that pacifier, which implies that he's blasting away a little baby there, and in some of those posters they had in some countries they had to redo that as dentures. It may be a little bit more palatable that he's blasted away an older person as opposed to a little baby with the pacifier.
Yeah. No.
But
Well, you. Yeah. Well, and there's also kind of there are other scenes there. I mean, like you said, this isn't something for this isn't something to pop in the pop on the TV, after Thanksgiving.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
maybe if you have that kind of weird family, I guess, if you're all younger, not being young, being adult age or higher, like where
Mhm.
you're. This would
Right.
probably be a great watch, honestly, though, with a group of like-minded people, because it does invite in commentary.
Mhm.
So it would be fun this would be a fun film to watch with like a big group of people that were expressive,
Yeah.
like that maybe had half the audience had seen it, maybe half the other the other half of the audience hadn't seen it. I think you get a good mix. That would be a lot of fun. That would be a lot of fun.
Right. Yeah, and it's not a gory movie either, so
Not
it's
really, no.
yeah, so it doesn't kind of go in your face. It's more or less the themes of it that pushes you. It's more of a more of an intellectual horror movie. It's saying, okay, well, how far can you go? How far are you going to stay with us? How far can we push you to the point where you say, nope, this isn't for me? And but they do it in a way that like I said, they kind of tone down like the violence and a lot of times in horror movies they amp up things to the point where it becomes extreme with the with everything. But this is done so matter of factly. It's not like,
Right.
it gives you the same focus that they give him talking about the social injustices of things, as much as much of a focus on that as he does on killing an old lady. So there's like this even
I,
flow where it's not like, it's like, oh, she is dead. Okay, well, we're moving on. Okay, well,
right.
going to her bedroom. It's like, okay.
Well, yeah.
It
Well,
doesn't really give you time to kind of stop and kind of think of what's going on until later.
no, you're right.
Mm,
It doesn't.
mhm.
It
Yeah.
goes by very, very quickly, and you're in the middle of a story that's unfolding that you,
Mhm.
in a weird, perverse way, you're part of too, in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
but I don't know. Just a different kind of. It's just a different feeling kind of film. One
Right.
I do want,
And
and I do. It's one that you could absolutely watch two different times and come away with maybe two different
mhm.
thoughts and feelings. Because
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that some of the things that I saw in it weren't like supposed to be shocking or they weren't abhorrent. They were, but like I don't know. It's just such a bizarre, weird slice of life.
Mhm.
Literally, like like I
Yeah.
guess I mean it's no different than Dexter. It's just kind of
Mhm.
like sped up, and with maybe all the code and all the sheen that his whatever just kind of
Yeah.
but it does
Yeah.
remind me of that Dexter universe kind of sort of feel of like
Yeah.
some kind
Absolutely.
of like where you have a serial killer and they're kind of giving you like the narrative. They're giving you the Ferris Bueller in the camera. You look at the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, this
Hi,
is
Tom.
was probably, yeah, probably influential to Dexter. It kind of, gives you that serial killer as an everyday man. Yeah. There's that
No
sense
fourth
about it.
wall. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it did seem a little bit more extreme back in '92, because this is pre
Oh, I could
Takashi
easily see.
Miike,
Oh, this
before
would have been.
Dexter, before Terrifier. That's, it was very much in your face. But now it's more of an intellectual kind of, you can kind of pick up on more of the intellectual things that they were trying to push forth in this. But yeah,
It, it,
it's
it,
one of
it
those that you could revisit, like you said, throughout your life, to get different perspectives on things.
Yeah, it has the feel of how to put this. Not quite. What I'm gonna say isn't quite. It's got a little bit of a feel of like if SNL skits were real, like
Yeah.
real, really real.
Hmm.
It kind of has that feeling of bizarreness. That's why it's funny. Some of it's very funny. That's what that off part that makes you dares you to giggle. Like whether he's saying something this or that or whatever, it's just very funny. But the
Yeah.
grainy black and white handheld camera work, it all contributes to the feeling that you're watching this unsettling
Hmm.
real thing happen.
Yeah, no, there's that cliche about black and white French films being, hoity-toity and kind of incomprehensible, kind of obscure, kind of absurd, kind of, but this this sort of kind of throws it in your face. It's like, no, we're gonna get down and dirty. It's gonna be black and white. It's gonna be French, but it's gonna be in your face and dark and very understandable, but and very, very dark. I also like the title of it, "Man Bites Dog." It gives you that. The subtitle is "This happens in your neighborhood" or something to that effect. But "Man Bites Dog." It sounds like, those old headlines. We don't really read newspapers anymore, but those eye-catching headlines and newspapers. That sort of like that "Man Bites Dog."
Right.
Florida man does such and such. But yeah, it's very kind of, matter. It's that shocking thing that's on, newspapers an everyday thing, so that whenever a shocking title pops up on a newspaper, it just becomes mundane. It kind of becomes just whatever. So it sort of gives that shocking title, but it's it sort of has that feel of, oh well, it's just this thing. But yeah, it's kind of built-in kind of irony is built in with that title. So kudos for them for coming up with that.
Well, it is a very good title, because with the whole point of like a found footage type thing is you don't get to look away, right? Or the natural breaks that come with, like I said, some horror films announce and have a series of rules, and if you can figure them out, sometimes they're fun to figure out, sometimes not. And not everybody wants to do that every single movie, and it's not true across every single movie either, but it's generally true. But this doesn't have that. That's kind of like why it kind of, well, we're already kind of in a gray area, but we're kind of also heading down to a very dark black area that's very well defined and evil too.
Yeah.
So it's just funny how you expect one thing, and then the man does bite the dog, and things are upside down, and very much on purpose, and this does that very well. While you're in transit to be turned upside down, you are entertained, and you can't help but not watch.
Absolutely. And another thing with found footage, if it's like true found footage, you don't have a soundtrack, so you don't realize how much a movie is influenced by its music. Some movies can be saved by its soundtrack. There's the movie's not even good until you get like a good soundtrack into it. But with this, you're taking out one of those filmmaker tools out of the equation, and you're having to rely on everything else to support it. So that really kind of shows how they were able to craft it to where you don't miss the music. You don't need that to cue you in on how to feel it. They're making you feel through the lens of the camera. And what they're doing. So yeah, it's very, very effective movie. Even today, definitely check it out if you haven't seen this movie. It's a definite thumbs up. This is at this point a 33-year-old movie. I think it is.
Yeah, I was going to say too, whether you want to call it found footage, mockumentary, documentary, or whatever, there is this air. It doesn't matter. All three of those same things will have like one long continuous take. So you have this is just this rolling scene that happens. It's happening, a lot presumably live, whatever. But yeah, no, I agree with you completely. Yeah, it is 33 years old, and it holds up very well.
Up. Yeah. Yep. Quentin Tarantino knew what he was doing when he thought this is a great movie.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, we're both Quentin Tarantino fans.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and it's also in the book of 1001 movies you need to see before you die. So yeah, if you're going through that book, you can check this off your list if you've seen it. But I think we're wrapping things up, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, we are. Yeah, I've been Mike.
And I'm Tom. We're the first, the last, the Nerdom. Check out our back catalog if you want to check out our website, FirstLastNerdom.com. Check out our latest 10 videos in our little queue box, or you could go over to YouTube and check us out at FirstLastNerdom. We've got all the cool things. We cover both movies, all sorts, sci-fi, horror. We do some comedy, but we covered all fantasy. We do talk about books occasionally, comic books. But yeah, if you have anything you want us to cover, or if you want to share your thoughts on this movie, definitely give us a thumbs up, a like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you think.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
What are you doing?
See you.